Thank you very much for the introduction. I like to first thank the organizing committee to invite me to give this talk to you and share some of our experiences from distance education from the United States, but also from Florida, and I will talk a little bit about the general context of distance education. Over the last 10, 20 years, we have seen an explosion of distance education programs in the US. One of the latest surveys from the Sloan Foundation indicated that 6.7 million students were taking at least one online course. That indicates also the dimensions of the growth of distance education that has taken place over the last decades. Only 2.6% of higher education institutions have massive open online courses, and 77% of academic leaders rate the learning outcomes in online education as the same or even superior to those in face-to-face classes. So this indicates to us that there is really lots of attention focused on online education, and there's also reception of online education in many different places, in particular from academic leaders. If you look at the comparison between on-campus or classroom education, the total enrollment, as you can see on this slide, over the last decade or so, and we compare it also to growth of online courses, we see also that there's an increasing trend that is somewhat leveling off over here. Now, over the past few years, there was a prediction that online education would even overtake on-campus classes, or at least grow at a rate of 20 to 30%. And we have not really seen that, because it seems that also the interest is kind of leveling off at some point. There's also some reservation, in particular coming from the faculty side, that the acceptance of online education faces some barriers. For example, you see here the numbers over the past decade that academic leaders have reported little change in faculty acceptance of the value on legitimacy of online education. Here about leveling off at around below 25%. Now, faculty ask and instructors ask, do I need to put in more time to prepare online classes? And in a survey, it has been shown that 45% agree to the statement that it is more work to establish an online course, to develop it and actually teach it. If asked, are student learning outcomes comparable, we see actually that there is huge agreement. 77% agree that there are actually comparable outcomes, and this gives us confidence as teachers, as instructors, as people interested in training and education, that there is value also in online education. Now, one snapshot and one survey that I found was done at a national basis here for distance education in Brazil indicates that 50% of all universities use distance education, and most Brazilian students in the survey were found that benefit from distance education, abbreviated here as DE, are from emerging middle classes. And the preferred majors were pedagogy, business admin, and social services. Soil science is not on the agenda. And this is something also that we have to ask ourselves as soil scientists or environmental scientists. Do we want to be up there in terms of also teaching our students and offering also more online classes? And how can we do this? There are differences in terms of the modes of online education. Some systems are open and some are more closed. Closed systems are tuition-based, fee-based courses where in essence the access to the course material and to the instructor, question and answers is limited. So there's a barrier in terms of really having the financial resources as a student to take part in such a course. But we have seen also an increasing interesting trend in open source knowledge-aware development tools. These are tools that support to teach in online mode, that are accessible, that are free, that don't cost anything, and can be utilized not only by instructors but also by students. Also, what we have seen is a growth in open source courseware development. For example, the courseware system of MIT, Johns Hopkins, and other universities have been combined, and actually the course material has been made public, free of access. Even you, everybody can access those type of materials. Now, the question was, how can this be sustained in terms of truly releasing course material to the general public? And there has been lots and lots of interest from students to make use of these type of classes that are offered. Quite recently, Coursera is a new system that was released that offers massive online education for free. So everybody of us can sign up. Now, there is no degree attached to these type of courses, not even often a certificate. You simply learn, increase your knowledge, right, and extend your understanding. However, at the end, there is no graduate degree, there is no undergraduate degree, there is not often an official graduate certificate that can prove actually that you have gained some knowledge. So there are some struggles associated in particular with open courseware systems and courses and programs. But there is also a lot of potential and opportunities that exist in the distance education realm, particularly to globalize education. And this trend was quite successfully embraced, in particular in the beginning of growing distance education programs, because the idea was we put all the material, all the course content online, and then it's done, we teach it, and we don't have to put any more resources into the development of courses. Now, this worked out not as anticipated, because as you might know, there are some topics that can be taught in this type of mode. For example, mathematics, maybe chemistry, because chemical equations don't change and they are the same here in Brazil, in the United States, or in Europe. However, there are differences. For example, if you think of pedology, of local and regional knowledge, it has to be contextualized. It has to be adapted to make use and to create understanding, because if you don't do that, knowledge and understanding simply gets lost. So the culture, the language is quite important in such courses, because they have to be usually adapted to be really meaningful to our students, to create also the impact and also learning increase. Another issue is the digital divide. A lot of online courses are offered using internet-based technology, and as we know, internet facilities are not the same everywhere. Many countries have an access rate, like in the US, pretty high, 77 to over 80%, but some other countries not. If you, for example, compare many countries in Latin America or in Southeast Asia, the access to internet is still quite limited and often slower than some of the internet-based broadband facilities offered in the United States and somewhere else. So this limits also the access to videos, high-end online games that are used, or video clips that are showcased in some countries. And we have to be aware of all these limitations to consider also the audience to which we like to teach. At the University of Florida, we started quite early to teach distance education. It was in 2001 when 3 major programs were launched. And we were kind of the pioneers at the University of Florida to be one of the first to offer a full-blown master degree program in environmental sciences, in thesis and non-thesis mode, and have over the last 5-6 years offered an undergraduate program in environmental management in agriculture and natural resources. Also, we complemented these with 3 new launched certificate programs. These are graduate certificates. And it's important that these type of programs are available to everybody. Not only to students in the US, but these programs can be also enrolled by students in every country, in essence. When we think of the value of learning and what we can gain from such online programs is to have to ask us, what do we really want to teach? And how do we want to teach our students? So learning usually is associated with understanding and also personal meaning. But not only the delivery of content, textbook type of knowledge, because what we like to teach also our students, in particular in distance ed courses and on-campus classes, is to develop competency, mastery of a subject, so that later on in their job they are really available and have the capability to also lead programs, develop new ideas, and also find solutions to problems. So that's quite important. So to develop this learner's ability to articulate and share their knowledge, apply it in real-world context is quite important. And at the end, we want to enable learner to transfer learning from one context to another in authentic life situations. For years, we have seen also a trend in computer student-centered e-delivery methods, including video clips, interactive tools like virtual labs, where students can, in a virtual environment, in essence, also explore and experience some of the material that we teach in our on-campus labs. We have seen also an explosion of online collaborative systems, where in essence student-instructor-centered communication takes place. And this is extremely important, because here we facilitate discussion that happens usually in the on-campus classroom. And we can now also facilitate this online with systems like Adobe Connect, WebEx, and Wimber, and a few others. So we have seen a trend from asynchronous to more synchronous e-delivery methods. In essence, maybe move from Web 1.0 to Web 2.0 in terms of changing also the communication patterns in our distance ed classes. But what we've also seen and might anticipate in the future, we are not there yet, what might be coming in the future, is that we include more and more applications and devices, everything from tablet PCs, iPods, mobile phones, to make, in essence, our teaching material cross-platform independent. And also to develop tools that relate to virtual reality, where the students emerge in an online world. And this is particularly important for pedagogy, for soil science, because we want to really teach students also about a landscape, about how to map soils, how to perceive soils. And these type of virtual reality tools will also get us there in terms of creating really a similar experience that is haptic, that has some kinesthetic capabilities. Just can see how I can forward. It's not working. Can we just forward into the next slide, please? That to learning there are a variety of dimensions, like student involvement, in terms of creating also active labs where students participate actively. For example, using a soil physics lab or soil chemistry lab, or passive, where only reading material is delivered to students. And instructional learning styles relate to auditory and visual or cognitive. We can see also dimensions of learning relate to learning study experience, where we also facilitate individual learning experiences, but group learning experiences. And communication, I talked and touched already on, where we can also include different types of mode, from student-centered to instructor-centered modes, Usually it is a combination of these modes that facilitate the best learning outcomes. Then a lot of discussion has happened related to blended or hybrid experiences, because if you mix on-campus and distance education mode, you might gain benefits from both. And this is also a quite interesting trend that we have seen, that some distance education programs that started as full online programs have shifted actually back and included now some, at least, components that include an on-campus lab or are complemented with like summer courses or concentrated workshops that facilitate also on-campus and face-to-face learning. Because we have to include also various modes of learning, from lower order skills to higher order skills. This is the adapted Bloom's taxonomy of learning, which has at the lowest level just rote memorization skills like to remember, understand. But important is also in distance ed material to include applications to analyze things which can be best facilitated with case studies, labs, demonstrations. And then the higher order skills are also quite important to include in distance ed courses. For example, critical discussion that happens in a live online chat room, for example, guided question answer sessions, projects, case studies. And they can be facilitated also in a distance education mode. So communication and learning really go hand in hand, where we really need to include and consider both communication in the classroom, that is central, and we can recreate these type of experiences also in an online setting, because there are social needs of students. We learn best if we are in a group, if we know that we are not the only one, right, in a course, but we have somebody else where we can really address our questions. And this might be actually another student, or it might be a teaching assistant, or this might be an instructor. In terms of different modes, we have also seen from research findings that information is best absorbed by students when we mix different modes like reading, visual, sound, and interaction with each other. So if a course only relies on reading and maybe few questions, it might be not as effective as it includes also visuals, videos, sound, and maybe some game activities to engage students. So the higher, in essence, the more complex the learning material, the possibility of reaching out to our students is actually higher than relying on very simple content delivery that might rely only on reading and some slides with few pictures. So we have to be aware that such material that includes also visual, sound, and interaction is quite expensive to produce. And this has also created a barrier that some courses that could be developed at very high level become actually quite expensive to deliver, to create, and then also to teach and update. This provides just also a summary of what I just explained in a nutshell in terms of mixing different modes, mixing asynchronous and synchronous modes that can be facilitated using course management systems like Moodle, Sakai, or others. We have in essence addressed these different modes of content delivery, but also synchronous in terms of creating a social environment where students engage with each other and share also experiences in form of a virtual lab. This might be a virtual lab where students learn about geographic information systems, a course that I teach in distance education mode. It might be a pedology course or a biogeochemistry course. So you can envision many, many different topics also taught using synchronous, facilitated discussion where a dialogue takes place between the faculty and the learner and among the learners. So the interaction in these courses is often also quite important. Inquiry-based learning has become quite quite also popular, because in this type of style, it refers to several questions that are posed where the instructor really takes back and becomes not only a teacher that teaches front-loaded, but tries to facilitate learning as an advisor or a facilitator or a coach. And this simple quote, in a nutshell, summarizes inquiry-based learning styles. Tell me and I forget, show me and I remember, involve me and I understand. Particularly this understanding, that's our end goal as also instructors, to teach our students to truly gain deep knowledge and understanding of a specific topic. So inquiry is not so much seeking the right answer, but rather seeking appropriate solutions, facilitating discussion and issues that can create this type of understanding. So from an educator perspective, it implies emphasis on development of these type of inquiry skills and nurture and create an inquiring attitude and habit of mind that will enable individuals to continue this quest for knowledge throughout life. Because even after completing a course or completing an online program, we want also students to continue to learn, become a lifelong learner in essence. So this type of inquiry-based style is quite important, where questions might be posed and how are these worlds organized? How do they change? In essence, pose questions where the instructor takes a facilitator role. Banshee and Bell outpoint this type of guided inquiry that happens at different levels, from confirmation structure to guided to open inquiry. And can it touch on different components of soil science? Everything from lab-based teaching, here for example spectroscopy, GIS or soil survey-based orientated learning, or other types of topics. So we can use this type of learning style also in on-campus and distance education courses. And even if you believe that teaching about a landscape like this one, or soil profiles, or pedology is quite challenging in an online environment, it is. But we can also make the attempt to create virtual labs that provide this experience and build in also assignments that get students out into the field to allow them also to experience soil description and work with other students through some of the challenges that come with soil mapping, for example, or wetland delineation. Now, I'd like to also touch on one more important point that is very important, in particular to facilitate learning, which is to empower the learner. And many studies have also found if we engage the student in the co-creation of learning material, there are specific really benefits to it, because we create shared learning content, it's a participatory learning style, where we create a collaborative learning setting, in particular and setting where students come together and co-create material. And this is an environment that we created based on reusable learning objects. And these type of objects are defined as independent and self-standing unit of learning that is predisposed to reuse in multiple instructional contexts. It sounds kind of abstract, and I will provide you with a few examples, hopefully, to bring this closer to you, because it's a quite powerful way of also engaging learner based on an object-oriented learning concept. These type of learning objects, or RLOs, are available 24/7 because they are digital, they are reusable, they are self-contained, very small in size, usually 2 to 50 minutes of learning. They are standardized in some way in the same learning shell, and they are searchable. They are quite flexible to be updated. For example, they can be aggregated into courses or larger programs. And they are suited for this new type of learner the net generation learner and very cost effective to produce, because here, in essence, also the students become co-creator of the material. So we follow a simplified learning cycle to create these RLOs, from defining learning objectives, a knowledge component, and this knowledge component can be ingrained in different kinds of digital media, maybe in text and map and video clip and PowerPoint. They can be meshed together to form learning content. And finally, a small assessment component to evaluate if actually learning has taken place. The eco-learning system is an open educational system, and in essence, it is accessible to everybody. Eco refers to ecological content, but it includes also agriculture, soil science, and also the broader life sciences. You can, with the system, learn, and the IT refers to information technology, or it like an object. But this system facilitates learning where students can also come together and collaborate with instructors and everybody that has an interest, like scientists, researchers, to create learning material. This material is peer-reviewed, like a research paper. It goes through a review process. It has specific tools that facilitates to create reusable learning objects. And it also, quite important here, empowers learners and instructors, because it's a collaborative activity. This is a snapshot and the URL if you want to make a note. I also have a few cards that I can hand out after the talk that gives you also an idea how to access the system. And as I said, it's free. You can access it. You can make use if you teach in class, and you can draw material out of this library, or you can go there and actually contribute and create material and put material into the system. So there are different levels of participation. You can become an author, you can be an instructor and take material out of the system, or you can simply go there and learn, because there are many soils-related and GIS-related reusable learning objects also included. It's quite broad. You find in eco-learning everything that relates to soil science, water, conservation management, and I would simply invite you to explore. Go to the website and see for yourself. Here's a snapshot of one RLO. It has a standardized shell. Dear author, Kathleen Lockhart, uploaded the material, and this is focused on the phosphorus cycle. And I have only snapshots here that I show you some of the knowledge material, the assessment component you see here. Where, in essence, you can log in and take a simple quiz to get some idea if you actually learned. And in essence, this is a second RLO focused on the description of soils, where a student, Mia, with an instructor put together this material. She included also a video clip that has audio with it, that has sound to it that you can watch. I have only snapshots for you today to quickly browse through this kind of reusable learning object. But as you can see, it's a meshing of different modes of different material that all follows the simplified learning cycle and gives us some ideas in terms of the content to facilitate learning, and also has empowered the authors of this material that created the RLOs to publish, in essence, an educational piece online that is accessible to everybody and can be cited. There is a graduate course that is also taught by myself at the University of Florida. It's a one-credit course that you can also enroll and take wherever you are. It's totally online and also helps you to understand some of the pedagogy behind online learning, and in particular also to facilitate and walk you through the learning process to create reusable learning objects. These type of RLOs can be integrated into course management systems like Moodle, Sakai, Blackboard, and others. And you can envision also the aggregation of these reusable learning objects into whole courses to create, in essence, a learning path where different RLOs are included. And students pick and choose or are sent on discovery learning tour or in guided tour to learn about a specific topic. And I have here an, oh, yeah. I hope that I shared with you some important material from our perspective on distance education and introduced you to the eco-learned reusable learning tool, because this is one example out of many of tools that facilitate online teaching and learning and can be accessed by anybody. And I also encourage you to participate in this effort to create more online resources, because it has much value. It is a resource that can be shared, and think about if you develop an online course, many others can benefit as well. With that, I thank you very much for the attention, and if you have any questions, please.